In some sort of miracle, the Cavs had a defensive answer for Steph, and his name was Matthew Dellavedova. From a small town in Australia to the biggest stage in basketball, Matthew Dellavedova's journey is a story of grit, determination, and the power of believing in yourself. Today we're diving into the incredible story of Delly, the Aussie underdog who took the NBA by storm and locked up one of the greatest players in NBA history. Matthew Dellavedova was born on September 8, 1990 in Maryborough, a small town with just over 8,000 residents. Delly was drawn to sports at a very young age. His parents, Mark and Leanne, supported his athletic pursuits, even though basketball wasn't a very popular sport in Australia at the time. As well as basketball, Delly played all kinds of sports, such as soccer, tennis, and even some Aussie rules footy. But as he grew older, basketball became his true passion. Delly's work ethic was unmatched. Even as a kid, he'd spend hours practicing his shot on a backyard hoop while playing against older kids to improve his skills. On top of this, Delly played over 150 games for the Maryborough Blazers in his younger years. By the time Delly was a teenager, it was clear he was something special. At 17 years old, Delly moved to Melbourne to join the Australian Institute of Sport, where he trained alongside future NBA players and Olympic teammates like Patty Mills and Joe Ingles. Delly's performance at the Institute of Sport caught the attention of scouts all over the US, and because of this, in 2009, he earned a scholarship to St. Mary's College in California. Over the 4 years he spent at St. Mary's, Delly's game evolved massively. Delly gained recognition all across the nation for his court vision, shooting, defense, and leadership, which made him a 3-time All-WCC first-team selection. By the time he graduated, Delly held all-time records at St. Mary's for points, assists, and games played. But despite his stellar college career, for some odd reason, Delly wasn't selected in the 2013 NBA draft. For many players, this might have been the end of the road, and where others would have given up. But not for Delly. He didn't put all this work in just to give up once he missed out on being a draft pick. Although Delly went undrafted, he was clearly still good enough to play in an NBA rotation. Thankfully though, on September 12, 2013, Delly signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers as a free agent. Initially, he wasn't expected to play much at all, but his hustle and defensive intensity quickly earned him minutes as the season progressed. By his second season, Delly became a key role player and bench scorer for the Cavs. His relentless energy, hustle, three-point shooting, and perimeter defense quickly made him a fan favorite amongst not only Cavs fans, but his teammates as well. But the real appreciation for Delly's perimeter defense would come a couple years later in a matchup against one of the best point guards of all time. While Matthew Dellavedova didn't play as many minutes in that 2016 NBA Finals run as he had in previous years, his defensive contributions remained critical in Cleveland's historic run. In that 2016 NBA Finals series, the Cavaliers faced off against the record-breaking 73-9 Golden State Warriors, a team led by the electrifying trio of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. But in some sort of miracle, the Cavs had a defensive answer for Steph, and his name was Matthew Dellavedova. Coming off the bench, Delly brought his trademark hustle and defensive energy, hounding Curry and the Warriors' perimeter players every time he stepped on the court. His physical and gritty style disrupted Golden State's rhythm and provided crucial defensive stops in key moments, especially towards the end of the series. During that final series, the Cavaliers allowed just 98 points per 100 possessions when Delly was on the court, showing Delly's elite ability to pressure the ball and disrupt the Warriors despite their overwhelming scoring abilities. Delly's willingness to do the dirty work, whether it was diving for loose balls, fighting through screens, or contesting perimeter shots, set the tone for the Cavaliers' defense throughout the series. Though Delly's role was reduced as the series progressed, his contributions earlier in the playoffs and his ability to give LeBron and Kyrie a defensive breather was invaluable. There's no doubt that Delly played a massive role in helping LeBron and the Cavs complete the greatest comeback in NBA history, winning the series 4-3 and delivering Cleveland its first ever championship. While Dellavedova had plenty of success in the NBA, he remains a cornerstone of the Boomers' Australian national team. The Boomers had come agonizingly close to winning medals in previous Olympic tournaments, but Tokyo 2020 was different. Though not a top scorer in the tournament, Delly's leadership, playmaking and defensive efforts were crucial in helping the Boomers secure the bronze medal. It was a historic moment for Australian basketball, and Delly was a major part of that run. Off the court, Delly is just as inspiring. He's a proud husband and father and remains deeply connected to his Australian roots. Through his basketball camps and community outreach programs, Delly continues to inspire the next generation of Aussie athletes. From Maryborough to the NBA Finals and then the Olympic podium, Matthew Dellavedova's journey is a story of resilience, perseverance, hard work, and a strong heart. He's not just a basketball player. He's a symbol of what's possible when you never give up.
And that dribble penetration,
Simmons, wild attempt. He put the English on it off the window.
Defensively, but coaches will tell you, who cares? Nice pass.
Yeah, by Ben Simmons, dropping a dime on Harris for Ben's 6th assist of the game.
Ben Simmons was never supposed to be just a role player on an average NBA team. He was supposed to be generational. A 6'10" point guard with the athleticism of a wing, the passing vision of a Hall of Fame point guard, and the physical tools to guard anyone on the floor. And yet, early on in his career, it did look like he was gonna be generational. With him being a number 1 pick, an all-star by 22, a defensive player of the year candidate over multiple years, and a core piece of the 76ers future. Due to these early achievements, he was meant to be a franchise cornerstone for the 76ers, but now he's an average role player and a shadow of the player he was once hyped to be. This is the story of Ben Simmons, a generational prospect who went from a superstar to someone who can barely hold a bench position. Ben Simmons was born in 1996 in Melbourne, Australia. But despite being born in Melbourne, Ben spent the earliest part of his life living in Newcastle, a smaller city in New South Wales. Newcastle isn't known for its notable basketball talent. In fact, it's a rugby and AFL town. And Ben, like most Aussie kids, grew up playing multiple sports. By age 7, he was playing competitive basketball. By 8 years old, he was on representative Aussie rules football teams. There's no doubt that even from a young age, the kid could do it all. But not only was Ben an athlete, his father, Dave Simmons, was a former pro who played over a decade in the NBL and even won a championship. But as Ben's height began to grow to a staggering 6'5" by the time he was 14 years old, it became clear that basketball was his calling. Although that transition wasn't easy, Simmons loved Aussie rules football. As a kid, he had always dreamed of playing footy at the highest level, but basketball gave him something else: control. As he would say in later interviews, basketball just felt right. He had the ball in his hands. He could dictate the pace. He could make his own decisions. By 15, he was training at the Australian Institute of Sport, competing in international tournaments and dominating local leagues, competing against grown men. In 2012, at just just 16 years old, he played for Australia in the FIBA Under-17 World Championships, putting up a solid 9 points per game and 6 rebounds per game, showcasing his raw, versatile skill set. At age 16, Simmons left his home country to move to Florida and enroll in Montverde Academy, a US high school basketball powerhouse. The adjustment was brutal at first, with him experiencing a new culture with new expectations and new pressure. But once Simmons settled into the US, his rise was drastic. By his senior year, he was averaging 28 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, nearly 5 assists per game, and had proven himself as a dominant presence on both ends of the floor. His team at Montverde went undefeated, and Ben was named the Naismith High School Player of the Year. On top of this, ESPN ranked him as the #1 prospect in the country. He was labelled as the next LeBron, a comparison not thrown around every year. And yet, instead of choosing a popular school like Duke or Kentucky, Simmons committed to LSU, which was a surprising move at the time. The decision was influenced by his family ties, with coach Johnny Jones being a close friend of the Simmons family. It was meant to be a place where Ben could play free, be himself, and grow with one of his family's closest friends. But his time at LSU didn't go quite as planned. Statistically, Simmons was phenomenal. He averaged 19.2 points, 11.8 rebounds, 4.8 assists, and 2 steals per game while shooting over 56% from the field, while recording 23 double-doubles as clearly the most NBA-ready player in the college scene. But LSU struggled. They went 19-14 and missed the NCAA tournament entirely. Thanks to this disappointing college run, critics started to wonder, was Simmons too passive? Did he care enough? Why didn't he shoot? Why couldn't he lead his team when it mattered most? But none of that mattered when NBA draft night came around, as the Sixers took him with the first overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft. Philly was deep in their rebuild, and Simmons was supposed to mean the end of that. The franchise centerpiece, the next Magic Johnson with a jump shot, or so they hoped. Even the beginning of his career was unstable. He never played a game his rookie year. A fractured foot sidelined him for the entire 2016-17 season, and skepticism started to grow. Was this gonna be another case of injuries derailing a career before they even got started? Then came the 2017-18 season, and Ben Simmons had arrived. In his official rookie season, Simmons averaged 15.8 points, 8.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists per game. He recorded 16 triple-doubles, second only to Oscar Robertson on the all-time list for a rookie season. He won Rookie of the Year, and Philly had a record of 52 wins and 30 losses, making it their best season since the Allen Iverson era. Alongside Joel Embiid, Simmons was leading the most exciting young core in the NBA. Over the next 3 seasons, Simmons became an all-star in 2019, 2020, and 2021. He led the NBA in steals in 2020 with 2.1 steals per game, earning himself a first-team all-defensive selection, and finished runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year. He averaged a steady 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists during that stretch, while guarding every position on the court. But despite his all-star level play, the cracks were becoming more and more visible year after year. Simmons still refused to shoot from beyond the arc. Over his first 4 seasons, he took just 34 threes and made only 5. In a league dominated by spacing and shooting, this became a massive liability. To make things worse, in the playoffs, other teams would sag 10 feet off him and practically force him to shoot. Even his 3-throw shooting took a toll in the playoffs. A manageable 60% in the regular season fell off a cliff under the pressure of the playoffs, but nothing exposed him like the 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals. Facing the underdog Atlanta Hawks, Simmons' confidence evaporated. He averaged under 10 points per game, shot 34.2% from the free throw line, and in the now infamous Game 7, passed up an open dunk in the fourth quarter, a moment that Joel Embiid later called the turning point. And then after the game, when coach Doc Rivers was asked if Simmons could be a championship point guard, said, "I don't know."
Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now. So I don't know the answer to that.
After that conference semi-finals collapse, Simmons requested a trade. He skipped training camp, he blamed it all on mental health issues, refused to play for Philly, and became public enemy #1 amongst Sixers fans. After months of tension, he was finally traded to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for James Harden. But even in a new city, the same problems followed. Simmons didn't play at all in the 2021-22 season with back issues and mental health challenges. Big quotation marks on mental health challenges. When he finally suited up for Brooklyn the next season, he looked lost. He was hesitant to shoot, rarely attacked the basket, and didn't resemble the dynamic, fearless player we saw just 2 years earlier. He averaged just 6.9 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 6.1 assists per game, while shooting less than 1 free throw per game. And by the end of the season, he was benched in late game situations. To make matters worse, his back flared up again, meaning another surgery leading to more time off. By the 2024-25 season, Simmons played just 15 games. Then came the trade to the Clippers. Despite the new change of scenery, Simmons wasn't brought into the Clippers to change the team. He was brought into the team to make salaries work. So where does this leave him? At 28 years old, Ben Simmons should be in his prime. He should be a franchise leader, a perennial all-star, a player we talk about in MVP conversations. Instead, he's a sad tale, a reminder that talent isn't enough. Injuries, mental health, confidence, and fit, all of it matters. Ben Simmons still has the tools and skills, and in rare flashes, and I mean rare flashes, he still looks like the player we once believed in. But time is running out. If there's gonna be a redemption arc, it has to start soon. Because if it doesn't, Ben Simmons won't just go down as a bust. He'll go down as one of the greatest what-ifs in NBA history. Chris Goulding is no doubt an Australian basketball legend, whether it be thanks to his achievements in the NBL or on the Olympic courts. Goulding has had an outstanding career and has become one of the most lethal scorers the NBL has ever seen. Over nearly 2 decades, he's evolved from a promising teen in Brisbane to the undisputed face of the NBL. This is the story of Chris Goulding, a basketball legacy built on loyalty, clutch shots, and pure greatness. Chris Goulding was born on October 24th, 1988 in the quiet city of Launceston, Tasmania. But it wasn't long before his family made the decision to move north to Queensland, where the sunny streets of Brisbane became the backdrop for a young boy to fulfill his big dreams. Basketball wasn't always the most popular sport in Australia, but for Chris, it was everything. Goulding started playing basketball with the Southern District Spartans, and it was clear early that he had a natural scoring touch. Coaches marveled at how effortlessly he could get buckets. Whether it was slashing to the hoop or pulling up for deep long-range threes, he could do it all. After growing up a little, Chris attended Brisbane State High School, which is known for producing top-tier athletes and Olympians. While at Brisbane State, Chris Goulding became a standout in the school's basketball program and began representing Queensland in state competitions not long after joining the school. Despite his overwhelming talent, Goulding didn't take the traditional NCAA route. Instead, he earned himself a scholarship to the Australian Institute of Sport, one of the most credited basketball training centres in Australia, a place that has also produced many big Aussie basketball names such as Paddy Mills and Matthew Dellavedova. While at the AIS, Chris played in the South East Australian Basketball League, where he regularly put up 15 plus points per game over the 3 seasons he spent in the SEABL. This time spent in the SEABL also gave Chris some time to refine his mechanics and improve his basketball IQ. During this time when Chris Goulding was working at the Australian Institute of Sport, Goulding was also selected for junior national teams, representing Australia in multiple international tournaments, including the 2006 Albert Schwarzenegger Tournament, a key tournament for rising stars looking to make a name for themselves on the big stage. These tournaments are what set him up for what was to come next. Chris Goulding made his NBL debut in 2006 as just an 18-year-old with the Brisbane Bullets, joining as a development player under head coach Joey Wright. Goulding didn't receive many major minutes early on, but this was due to the fact that at the time, that Bullets team was stacked with high-level NBL talent, featuring stars like Sam McKinnon and CJ Bruton. But having all this talent on his team wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Those stars taught him how to be a professional, win games at one of the highest levels, and make professional decisions. Even as a rookie, teammates, coaches, and people around him knew this kid had something special going for him. His teammates and coaches took a notice to the fact that his shooting form and abilities were already elite despite his young age. In 2007, the Bullets won the NBL championship, and though Goulding played a minor role, he got a taste of what winning at the top Australian level looked like. Unfortunately, financial struggles after that season led to the Bullets folding in 2008, a crucial blow to Brisbane basketball and Chris Goulding's future in the state of Queensland. That off-season, Chris had a short stint with the Perth Wildcats, but it didn't really lead to anything big coming to fruition, meaning his career truly began to flourish with his next team, the Gold Coast Blaze. The Gold Coast Blaze gave Chris something he hadn't had before, an opportunity to show his scoring abilities. Thanks to this, by his second season, Goulding had earned himself a significant role in the rotation, quickly becoming one of the most exciting young scorers in the NBL. From 2009 to 2012, his numbers steadily improved each season. Goulding went from averaging 6.6 points per game in 2009 to 11.6 points per game by the end of the 2012 NBL season. With an increasingly efficient shooting stroke and a reputation for hitting big shots in tight moments in big games, it was evident that he was slowly growing into a superstar player. In 2012, Chris signed with the Melbourne Tigers, the previous name of the now Melbourne United, and in the 2013-2014 season, he completely exploded. Goulding led the entire NBL in scoring, averaging 23 points per game, with shooting splits of 44% from the field and 36% from deep. It wasn't just that he was scoring, it was how he was doing it. The crown jewel of that year and the moment that everyone knew that he was here to stay as a superstar was his jaw-dropping 50-point game against the Sydney Kings. In this game, Goulding shot 10 of 19 from 3 and 19 of 29 overall from the field. On that day, Chris absolutely torched the Kings defense. It was also the first 50-piece in the NBL in years, and it turned him into a household name all over the NBL scene.
Goulding from the car park. Oh, Reynolds at home.
In 2015, Goulding made the decision to re-sign with the rebranded Melbourne United. marking the beginning of a new era in Australian basketball, with Chris Goulding at the centre of it. After re-signing with Melbourne United, he quickly became the face of the franchise. His leadership, shot-making and confidence became a part of the Melbourne United brand. Between 2015 and 2021, he averaged between 14 and 19 points per game every season, while often dealing with double teams and defensive schemes designed specifically to slow him down. But clearly that still wasn't enough to stop him. In 2018, Goulding led United to their first ever NBL championship since their rebrand. Goulding was big in that finals campaign, especially towards the end, dropping 23 points in Game 5 of the Grand Final series against the Adelaide 36ers. After the game, Goulding was named the NBL Finals MVP, and after that, fans across Australia knew this was now his league and everyone else was just playing in it with him. But he wasn't done there. In 2021, he guided United to another title, this time in a leadership role within the club, meaning he was able to mentor young players and future NBA talent like Jock Landale while still contributing at a high level on a game-to-game basis. During this stretch from 2015 to 2021, Goulding passed 5,000 career points, became Melbourne's all-time leading scorer, hit over 800 career threes, was selected for the All-NBL first or second team multiple times, became one of the most recognisable and marketable athletes not only in the league but in Australian basketball as a whole. Off the court, Goulding made features in commercials, NBL campaigns and media content, helping bring the league back to mainstream relevance after the league was struggling to win fans' wallets over and create interest for the leagues, teams and games. Now in his 18th season in the NBL, Chris Goulding is still putting up numbers and still hitting ridiculous shots. He's one of just 6 players in NBL history to score over 6,000 points and hit 900 plus threes. His averages have remained remarkably steady over the years despite his increasing age. Even in his mid-30s, he's still hovering around 13 to 16 points per game and shooting 40+% from deep.
Too much on it. Holding. Catch, shoot, spray, finish, and the foul. CG for 3.
On the international stage, Goulding has been a staple in the Boomers' rotation during many Olympic and FIBA runs. He played a crucial role in the 2019 FIBA World Cup, helping Australia finish 4th and then again in Tokyo 2020, where the Boomers finally broke through with a bronze medal, defeating Slovenia in the bronze medal game. During that bronze medal Olympic run, Goulding came off the bench and provided instant offense, including a 21-point explosion against Nigeria earlier in the tournament. To do that on the Olympic stage, that has to be a legacy moment for him and for Australian basketball as a whole. He's also been vital in bringing the old and new generations of Aussie hoopers into a timeline, playing alongside legends like Patty Mills and Joe Ingles while mentoring rising stars like Dyson Daniels, Luke Travers and Josh Giddey on the Boomers national teams, helping teach the younger generations of Aussie hoopers to make sure that Australia stays as one of the top basketball countries in the world. There's always been a thought within fans of Chris Goulding. Could Chris Goulding have made it to the NBA? With his scoring ability, shooting touch and confidence, the answer has to be yes. He might have been a perfect spark plug off the bench, like a Patty Mills type role. He got close. After the 2014 Summer League stint, there were whispers of a training camp invite, but ultimately he chose to return home and build something lasting in the NBL. Would he have stuck on an NBA roster? Maybe. But in choosing to stay in Australia meant he became an icon to an entire league's fan base. In my opinion, that's something much cooler than being a bench player in the NBA. Chris Goulding's journey is more than just stats and highlights. It's a story of loyalty, evolution, resilience, and patience. He's remained committed to the league when it wasn't popular and has ridden it back to success. He's represented his country on the world's biggest stages, and most of all, he's inspired new generations of Australian hoopers to chase their own dreams. In a league that has seen players come and go, Chris Goulding stayed true to not only the league he was playing in, but the country he was representing, and in doing so, he's become one of the pillars of Australian basketball. He's not just a great shooter, he's not just a two-time NBL champion, he's not just a walking bucket, he is and always will be the NBL's golden child. What's your favourite Chris Goulding moment? Drop it in the comments below, hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe for more basketball content, and let me know which player or story you want to see next. Thanks for watching and goodbye.